We now know that the Omicron variant of the coronavirus is the dominant variant in the United States and across the world. We have also heard that the vaccine effectiveness is not as high against Omicron as it was before for other variants. But by how much have we lost the vaccine effectiveness? How big a risk do we have now as we live in this world of ever-changing variants, with Omicron now the dominant variant? Well, friends, I have some good news to share with you because I just came across a good report from the CDC that analyzed a lot of data, real-world data, to estimate this change in vaccine effectiveness. And I'll talk about that in this video. Hello everyone. For those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Naveen Agarwal, and I welcome you all to another weekly video update. Now, in this video, I will go over this data with you, highlight a few key points, but let me tell you, the overall news is still pretty good. We still have to be cautious and vigilant and make the right decision, which makes sense at an individual level. And that's what I tell in all my videos. What we talk about, what we hear are general rules or general information applicable in general, but every individual is different, and we have to make that decision based on our individual benefit risk analysis, and our doctor is the best source of that guidance to us. So I always encourage you to be aware of this information, but talk to your doctor before you make any important decisions. So we look into this data and highlight a few key points, what it means, what it doesn't mean. But in the comments below, please share your questions and thoughts. Even if you're not vaccinated or vaccinated, even if you have not taken the booster or taken the booster, it doesn't matter. What matters is for us to have a conversation about your concerns, your questions and issues, and work together to figure out what might be the best course of action and how you can interpret and analyze all this information that is coming at us. So let's look right into this and see what we are learning from this particular report. So this is what I call latest estimates of vaccine effectiveness from the real world. This is an estimate. This is not a clinical trial. This is coming from the real world data. So CDC has published this report in January 2022. I'll give you a link as part of this video. This analyzed the weekly data on COVID cases and COVID-caused deaths, April to December 2021. About 10 million cases overall between vaccinated and unvaccinated people, and 117,000 deaths, again, between vaccinated and unvaccinated people. So as we can see, these numbers are still pretty high, and a lot of people are still impacted by this disease. They looked at data from 25 state local health departments. So a lot of data representing about 62% of the US population. So vaccine effectiveness declined during the Omicron period, no doubt. But the good news is not by much. So vaccine effectiveness was about 93% October to November, pre-Omicron, during the Delta timeframe, and 80% in December for cases. Good news is that vaccine effectiveness against death is still high, more than 90%. Higher protection is among those fully vaccinated and who got the booster dose, highest protection by far. But the booster dose actually provided the highest protection among those 65 years and older, and we will look into that information in this particular video. So let's do a quick refresher how they are calculating the numbers. Let's understand what they're doing first. They are calculating something called IRR, incidence reporting ratio. It's actually a very simple number. You look at the incidence among unvaccinated people. It's a ratio. So at the top you have the incidence, the rate among unvaccinated people, and at the bottom you have the incidence among vaccinated people. So they're comparing the two groups. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. If let's say I find 100 unvaccinated people and 5 of them were COVID infected, and I do the same analysis, same area, same variables, and find 100 vaccinated people and maybe only 1 case of COVID. So this ratio will be 5 divided by 1 equal to 5. That means if you are unvaccinated, you are 5 times more likely to have been infected with COVID-19 than if you are vaccinated. That's what it means. So it's a simple relative analysis. It's a ratio, and it's a crude estimate with a lot of assumptions, but good solid analysis. That's what it means. So we're going to look at this simple number and try to make sense of the level of risk that we have right now. Okay, so here's the average weekly IRR. It's the average number over this time frame, right? So sometimes it might be high, sometimes it might be low. So it's an average number. So this chart shows 4 numbers. The top bar right here is pre-Delta, April to May 2021 timeframe, about 14. And Omicron emergence December 2021, about 3. So as you can see, it came from 14 to 3. If you are unvaccinated, pre-Delta, 14 times more likely to get COVID-19 compared to a vaccinated person. But with Omicron now, during December 2021, it's only 3. That means those who are vaccinated now have a higher risk compared to the unvaccinated, but still they have a lower risk overall. It's not less than 1. If the ratio was less than 1, vaccinated people would have a higher risk, but that's not the case. It has come down. And as a result, they are estimating the vaccine effectiveness, VE, has come down to about 80% for infections. But let's look at what happens against death. Known cause of death being COVID. So pre-Delta, their estimate was about 22, April to May timeframe. Delta emergence about 16. Delta predominance about 16, and they don't have data yet for Omicron. They will probably find data in February, March timeframe, and I'll bring that to you when it becomes available. So throughout this time frame, it has come down, yes, but not by much. And that basically means that the vaccines continue to stay highly effective against the risk of death. Highest protection is for 65 years and older who are fully vaccinated and have received a booster dose. So let's look at the numbers. If you look at the overall age group for cases, it's about 5. But for 65 years and older, if you are vaccinated fully and booster, 14. Higher the number, lower is your risk compared to unvaccinated people. And for deaths, overall is about 53. And this is October to November. We don't have Omicron data yet. 65 years or older, 61. So much higher IRR, meaning much lower risk. So basically the bottom line is, yes, vaccine effectiveness against infection has come down, meaning if you are fully vaccinated, have received a booster shot, you still can get infected. And that's why we have to stay vigilant and cautious, because you will probably get sick, be knocked out, lose a few days of work, have a major disruption in your life, right? And a lot of anxiety. But against death, the vaccine effectiveness is still 90%. And then staying fully vaccinated, having a booster dose, particularly for those who are 65 years or older, makes a lot of sense. Now, this data is not without limitations, right? It's only 62% of the US population, so not everybody. Disease prevalence is not the same in every part of the country, even though they make an assumption at the national level and they calculate these numbers. It's not the same. Now, they cannot differentiate the effect of a booster dose from a third primary dose for immunocompromised people. As you all know, that if you are immunocompromised, you can get a third primary dose as part of your primary vaccination. That's not considered a booster dose, so they cannot differentiate the two. Yes, those are minor limitations, and we need to understand this in the context of those limitations. But in general, and again I emphasize that, in general, the news is, yes, lower vaccine effectiveness, but not by a lot, and still about the same for death. So we should take comfort in the fact that vaccines are still pretty good, but we need to be cautious and vigilant against exposure, even if we are vaccinated. So it doesn't matter how you do it. I'm not saying put on a mask, do this, do X, Y, Z. That guidance comes from the health authorities. My role here is to highlight to you that the risk remains high even if you're vaccinated. So take care, and whatever precautions make sense to you, please do that. But share in your comments below how you are going about navigating this new world that we are living in. It's Omicron now, but tomorrow there might be something else. What happens? How do we take care of our own family, our own individual health? What decisions we make, what criteria we choose? I would love to hear that from you and have a conversation about that. I look forward to hearing from you. I hope this information is useful, but if there's anything else on your mind that I should talk about, please let me know in your comments. Thank you, and please stay safe.